Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am Sean Anderson, Most Valuable Podcast, and the upcoming segment is from our full Fast Break podcast that we recorded. And if you do want to check out that full podcast, head over to Blog Talk Radio/The Fast Break. You'll be able to find the full podcast over there.
This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And we have a great podcast for you. It feels like we just did a podcast because we did.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, we did
It's
2
great.
days ago. If you haven't checked out our mock draft lottery edition, go check that out. We won't run through 14. It was an hour long. It was a fun time, boys.
Over an hour.
Yeah, it was hour
got
15. It was an hour 15. But today we're still going to be talking about draft. We got two draft topics, specifically about the Celtics and the Lakers. And then we're going to be talking about LeBron and GOAT discussion because this man will defend Michael Jordan to the day he dies.
He's the GOAT.
And I feel
greatest all-time sports GOAT.
And I feel like it's going to be a fun discussion when we get into it. But let's get into the Celtics. The Celtics topic that we'll be talking about today is, should the Celtics trade the number one pick? Everyone was talking about it in their mock draft. Everyone was mentioning it. I think Paul Pierce, you even mentioned, said that the Celtics should be trading it for Jimmy Butler or just trading it in general. I don't know if it was specifically for Jimmy Butler. Christ. But we do have a couple comments from that mock draft that I want to throw in, and then I'll put the question out to you guys. So first off, from Isiah Cox, he commented, Celtics should trade the picks. What do we know about Fultz? Super talented college team, won 9 games. They weren't that talented. He did not have that loaded up a team. It was Markelle, and that was about it. He had Thibault, and I think that was about the only other decent player on that team.
And that's being nice to mention that.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't name anyone from that Washington team.
Because they were bad. He said, are you kidding me? Love the kid's game, but that's bad. Trade the pick for a proven commodity. Go and get Jimmy Butler and find a rebounding big man. They do not need a point guard. Isiah Thomas needs a partner. Fultz won't be ready to play championship ball for another 4 years at the very least, when most of these players will be out of their primes. When you have a window open, you don't assume it will stay open for years to come. You play for right now. Love what you guys do. Thanks, Isel. We always see you commenting. We got to give you a shout out because that was a very well put comment as well. But then on the flip side, Nathaniel LaFale King commented, Celtics aren't trading the pick. Do you guys know anything about Danny Ainge? So looking at this, we obviously know Danny Ainge bringing in a ton of commodities, bringing in a ton of picks, bringing a ton of assets in, and then trying to build up a superpower for the future. Hasn't traded away any of those assets that he brought in from the Nets. And then looking on Isiah Cox's side, he does make a decent point about, people are going to be out of their primes, and when will these guys be ready? So looking at all of that, Ricky, I'm going to go to you first. Should the Celtics trade the number 1 overall pick?
I would think about it. And it's one of the things where I'm not saying yeah, for sure, go and trade it. But the thing that I love most about Azel's comment is the part where he says it's going to take Fultz, because that's the one everyone thinks that's who they're going to pick. It's going to take him 4 years, and it doesn't matter who you pick there. It's going to take him 4 years to develop into what we want them to be, and that is someone that can contribute to a championship team. I mean, the one thing with, I'm going to use Jaylen Brown, and I know it's not the best example because LeBron James is the best player in basketball right now, but even with him, year one, they tried to stick him on LeBron in game 1 of the series, and it didn't do anything. Now, granted, nothing did anything, no matter who they went on.
He had the best performance.
It was the best, but it wasn't great.
I mean, LeBron still got
to the hole. Yeah.
Well,
but the thing I look at is, and Paul Pierce is the one I really side with, is if you think your window is open now and you want to go for it, I mean, you can't sit there and go, well, you know what, the window's going to be open a while. Because, the Nationals thought that in baseball with Steven Strasburg, and their window closed on them. So, I mean, with this, it could be the same thing. You don't know what's going to happen with IT's future, if he's going to be a Celtic past that contract. You don't know what is going to happen with the development of Jaylen Brown. You're hoping he's going to develop into something nice, and Boston fans are really hyped up for that. You just don't know what the future holds. And having another pick that's going to need to develop when you can trade it to get a proven commodity to help you win now and make that window proven now when it's open, I would lean towards that.
Dave, I know you're on the side of don't trade it at all, keep the pick.
Am I, though?
Draft Markelle. I'm assuming because it's the We Agree podcast.
I'm sort of sort of on the other side for once. This is kind of weird.
And why are you on the side of Ricky here? At least thinking about it, not saying they for sure.
Yeah,
should
no,
trade it.
I think it's up for real consideration because what I have seen this season out of the Celtics with Al Horford, Isiah Thomas leading them is a team that honestly. They are closer than I expected to the Cavaliers. I know that's hard to say after watching that Game 1 blowout, but let's be honest, that was them after a 7-game series on a night's rest. It was not ideal conditions for them.
But then also the Cavs haven't played in over a week. I mean, they were They should have been rusty.
Should have been rusty, but they were anything but.
No.
But no, the thing is, you have to look at window is the magical word here, and with Isiah Thomas under contract for one more guaranteed year, then it's the UFA year. But the good news is you have Avery Bradley for that year as well. And then looking forward, you have Jay Crowder locked down for several years. Jaylen Brown still on that rookie deal, obviously. And you have Horford for the long-term future. You have Rozier and Smart with each another year. So it's like, I'm looking at this team, I go, next year, yes. The year after, they're going to probably have to offer Thomas a max contract and Bradley a not a full max, but a pretty well compensation package.
Probably a max with the way he plays.
At that point, though, I mean, we're looking at, next year, if they could add a sizable piece, a serious contributor instead of that number 1 overall pick, I think that helps them push further. And I think that going forward, if you have another guy there, I think Al Horford's exceeded my expectations. I think Isiah Thomas has exceeded everyone's expectations. And rather than, be the 76ers and wait forever and never pull the trigger on this is our time, this is our window, I think what they put together is a really good timetable. And with guys like Jaylen Crowder on a bargain contract, you have to take advantage of that. Jaylen Brown, I think, actually, he looked really good in that first game, and I'm surprised he hasn't gotten more time this year. So I think he's someone who's going to have a great second year. So I really want to go the all-in now, because I don't know if you're going to have that, here's our window with the young guys with a great mix. And I know it's a for sure answer, and I don't know what's going to happen in the future.
I think that I understand where you guys are coming from, and I'm not disagreeing. But again, you have to think about the LeBron window as well. LeBron right now is in his 14th season. He's 32 years old, and the man looks better than ever.
He's Benjamin Buttoning
I mean, right now, again, in the postseason, I want to make sure I'm getting the stats right because it's utterly ridiculous what he's doing in the postseason. Right now, LeBron is putting up 34.8 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 7.1 assists per game. I mean, he is absolutely unreal right now, and he's been unreal for the past. I mean, since he came into the league in 2003. I mean, LeBron, and we'll get to it later with the GOAT discussion, LeBron is one of the best players that we've ever seen. Greats in NBA court. One of the greatest, maybe not the greatest, but definitely for sure.
The greatest right now, for sure.
Easily. And he's been easily the best player in the NBA for a while. I mean, ever since Kobe took his fall. Yep. So looking at this, I mean, you still have to face the LeBron window, and that's why I'm on the side of Nathaniel here, where he says, Celtics aren't trading the pick. Do you guys know anything about Danny Ainge? Danny Ainge here, he's combined all these assets here, and he had a chance last year to get Jimmy Butler. He had a chance when this team was looking good, and this team was in the same position. You saw the flashes from Isiah Thomas to get them to where they were last year in the playoffs. Obviously they didn't take them too far into the playoffs. They had a chance to get Jimmy Butler with a 3rd overall pick, and now you have the number 1 overall pick in one of the deepest drafts we've seen, and you already have that Nets pick for the year after as well. And we know the Nets aren't anything special here.
They're not going to be the one again.
They'll have a chance at least in the lottery. I mean,
they will be a lottery team.
They'll be a lottery team, and then you also look at this. And we'll get to who they'll trade for, but it's more of. This is something where they're building past LeBron. And Avery Bradley's still young. Jay Crowder's still young. Isiah, it's something where he's going to be 30 years old getting a max contract, which is going to be for 5 years. And then, I don't know
if he gets a max contract.
He's going to get a max contract.
Unless he goes down with some horrific injury, he's a max contract.
And then if he goes down with a horrific injury, then you're screwed because he is the guy that you're building around. He's your number 1 piece. And if you have the big 3 of Thomas, let's say Butler or X player, and then Horford, that all just comes crumbling down. I just feel like that's going to crumble down, if you're building it so heavily on these 3 guys, where younger players like Fultz, Brown, you could build those guys up alongside a great team that might not have a chance to contend with LeBron and the Cavs.
Well, and the thing that I was going to say in the middle years, and you mentioned the LeBron James window. We've talked about that before, but the thing I've been starting to think about when it comes to the LeBron James window is great. You can draft Fultz. He'll it'll take him time to develop. Oh, cool. By the time he's ready to go, maybe the LeBron James window is closed and we don't have to deal with him anymore. But, okay, that gets you to the finals. What's the other window that's a little bit more open time-wise than LeBron? It's the Warriors.
But then again, you have to look at the contract situation. Steph's about to get a max contract. Steph's about to get paid. KD is going to need to get paid. Draymond, Clay, all of those players are going to need to get paid. You don't know how deep that team's going to be outside of the top four.
They're going to work it out to where, they're not going to keep all four of them, but KD would be the one that's the one left out.
Okay, but then again, KD has had injury problems before. Curry has hit injury problems before. That is something that can go down. I mean, that's something that we haven't seen sustained for, what has it been, 14 years now for LeBron James?
And that's why I think you have to go for it, because you can account for other teams' injuries. We've seen guys like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love both went down last year. And if there's a team like the Celtics this year that had a shot against them, they absolutely would be able to take it to them.
But what my thing is that you don't have to worry about injuries. Down the line, you can just be the best team. You could be the team that people are preparing for.
It's just frustrating because if you say you go for Markelle Fultz #1, fine. I'm not going to argue. You have Markelle Fultz, you have Jaylen Brown, and by the time they're hitting their prime, you're on the last year of like a Jay Crowder and question mark for the rest of your entire team.
You also have to take in,
that's your core.
They can go out and get free agents. They also have that Nets pick again, which could turn into another top 5 pick.
Potentially, yes. I understand that. It's just a point of like, if not now, then when? And I think, we have to look at windows, but at the same time, it's like, you can't just say, we don't want to win for the next 4 years because we're rebuilding still.
Well, but let me throw this out there.
But are they going to be winning for 4 years? Because right now, you look at this team without that third piece, they're still in the Eastern Conference Finals.
And that's what I want to throw out there. We talk about chance, and we talk about chance injuries. If the Bulls didn't have one, Celtics might not even be here. Up 2-0. I agree with Wilbon. We probably would have won that series if Rondo didn't go down.
It's interesting to think about what would happen with Rondo, but then again, you would just have to go and address that. And maybe a guy like Markelle Fultz could change the pace because he is a bigger guard, 6'5".
It makes you think, like, you were making the point of, well, look at where they are now. They're competing. Well, are they really there? Are they really there? Or should we be taking this as they had to struggle in that first round series. Yeah, the second round was a game of 7. If John Wall would have showed up for one game, they would have lost that series
too.
But
I think it's something where, getting a player like Jimmy Butler.
That's not a knock at John Wall. He just didn't show up on the road.
I think it's just something where you look at this, and I think that the gap between the Celtics and the Cavs right now is way too big. And if you get a Jimmy Butler, maybe it's a 6-game competitive series. But I don't think you're going to jump the Cavs at all, because LeBron James is showing he's the best player in the world, and I don't see that window closing anytime soon. And that's why I go back to Azel's point where he says you should trade the picks. However, I look at that Markelle Fultz comment where he says he won't be ready for 4 years. I don't know if maybe he's talking about his prime, which that I understand. That I agree with.
It takes guys years to develop.
But he's not going to be a guy that's going to be second year. He's going to be an All NBA player, but still, he could be a guy that can score 20 points in his second year.
Depending on the system, and I will say, it's
on a great team like the Celtics, it might give him a chance.
I don't think he would be a 20-point scorer in his second year on the Celtics,
but that's with Isiah off the team.
Potentially, then yes.
I'm saying they don't re-sign Isiah, then Markelle's their guy.
And then you're just stuck with an old Horford as your
Al's
leader.
Not that old.
He's old.
Al's not that old.
He's old.
Al is not that old, especially not in 2 years. He's not going to be that old. They wouldn't sign him to a 4-year contract.
In 2 years, he'll be 32.
That's not that old.
That's kind of old.
That's not that. LeBron's 32 right now.
You can't compare it to LeBron.
No, I know. I can't compare Al Horford to LeBron, but LeBron's 32 right now. He's a freak.
The point I'm aiming at
that's like end of prime. Guys can still be all-stars after their prime. Paul Gasol, too.
27 to 32 is fine. Like, that's totally reasonable in today's NBA with the way players take care of their bodies.
And Al Horford isn't a guy who damages his body.
Right. My point is it doesn't have to be someone like Jimmy Butler. If they could make a deal for someone who really wants that #1, they could dip back a little bit in this deep draft and get value and maybe get someone who can actually fucking rebound.
Okay, let's get into that question.
Because that solves their problem.
Maybe like the guy I had them taking #1.
Let's get into this question here, because I think that's the biggest question is who should they trade for? Because I'm on the side that they shouldn't trade, because I think what they should do is you take Markelle Fultz, you go hard. You bring out the Tom Brady's, you bring out the Big Poppies, you bring out all of these guys, you bring out Brad Stevens, you bring back Matt Howard somehow, you sign him as a bench coach. You say, hey, Gordon Hayward, remember what it was like in college when you had Coach K and you had Coach K on the ropes and you just needed that one shot? Well, let's give you that other guy and you can go after Steph Curry,
so he can miss
KD.
a half-court shot against LeBron?
No, I'm saying he's going to have a better shot with a better team. He's not playing with scrubs like Matt Howard and
now that he can't be offered that ridiculous contract, the option is there.
Supermax.
The Supermax.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is now he's a cheaper contract. We'll get into that with Paul George as well. That he's not going to get that like $244 million.
He
something
lost
like
out
that.
like $70 million or something crazy.
I think instead of $244 million not making the All NBA team, it's going to be $170 million for the Jazz to get him. Where I think with the Celtics, it's $133 the max contract they can add him. So if he doesn't think Utah, and I'm not trying to throw Utah fans under the bus or Utah under the bus, I think Utah's a great team. But you look at Boston, they have maybe an easier window to get through because you don't have to go through the Spurs, you don't have to go through the Warriors.
Just say the East is easier to get through.
Okay, I'm just explaining. You don't have to go through the Warriors. You don't have to go through the Spurs. You don't have to go through the Rockets. You just have to go through the Celtics. And going to a team where you have Isiah Thomas for 1 year, you will be, the three guarding LeBron. You'll have Al Horford, who won't be 32 years old. He'll be 31 years old. You'll have Markelle Fultz. You'll have Avery Bradley. You'll have Jay Crowder. You'll have Jaylen Brown. That's a really deep team, and you could still go out and draft someone, hopefully, who can rebound. Or go in free agency and hopefully get someone who can rebound. So looking at this, I think that's the easier way to go to. And I think that's the smarter route to go to than trading for a guy like Jimmy Butler, Paul George, whose contracts will be coming up sooner, and you'll have Gordon Hayward for longer and control him for longer. But what are your thoughts on who they should go after? That's why I think the main reason they shouldn't trade the number one pick.
It all depends on, to me, it comes back to IT. Because if I'm going out there and you've got Al Horford already making $26.5 million this year, then $27.7. By the time he gets to the end, if he takes that player option, it's at $30 million.
Cap will go up, though.
Cap will go up, but if you're going to sign Hayward to, I would assume it'd be a max deal that he would get. First off, it goes, will you have the money for Isiah?
You won't.
And then if you magically somehow do...
Yeah, you'd have to dump a lot, but yeah.
You'd have to dump a lot. And do you want to do that? Whereas if you can trade for a guy who, like a Jimmy Butler or a PG-13, those are the ones that are going through my head, because with Jimmy Butler, you have a little bit more control with the contract because he's not up right away. The only thing with PG-13 is you get him for a year, and then you have to renegotiate. But it gives you that year to think about. PG-13 might not be the best choice because then you got Isiah and PG-13 both becoming free agents in the same year.
And the maxes will go up.
Yeah.
It's just going to keep going up and up, where you can get Gordon Hayward for cheaper right now compared to a Paul George max contract the year after that. And I look at this right now. Right now they have $91 million in cap. Then it's going to go down to $20 million, because Gerald Green's going to be a free agent. James Young's going to be a free agent. Kelly Olynyk's going to be a restricted free agent. Jonas Jerebko's going to be a free agent. Amir Johnson's going to be a free agent. Then Tyler Zeller has $8 million that's non-guaranteed. Demetrius Jackson has $1.3 million that's non-guaranteed, and Jordan Mickey that's $1.4 and non-guaranteed. So they can get rid of cap to sign Gordon Hayward and sign another player that could be that rebounder for him.
Right,
Tyler Zeller
the following year when it's Isaiah's turn.
But that's what I'm saying is you're not going to re-sign him. I think that you should not re-sign Isiah Thomas and let him walk.
I could see the plan where, if you take Markelle Fultz now and you are able to get Gordon Hayward, then you don't really have the option to go full in on Isiah Thomas without making some crazy moves. So that I could see that working out. But then you've got Marcus Smart basically is your veteran guard. So I think he's kind of something good to work with.
Well, Avery Bradley will still be there too. I mean, I'm saying you re-sign. That's where Markelle Fultz will hopefully be ready in that time. 2 years should be enough time where, all right, you're the number one pick. You should be ready. You should be ready to go and take over this team. I think that this window is open for the Celtics. And especially, you look at Gordon Hayward, he's a guy that, he won't be a ball handler or a point forward, but he's a guy who can handle the ball, and, he's not a terrible decision-making. He can run the offense a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
And hopefully, Markelle Fultz can run the offense by that time. I don't think Marcus Smart will be starting. And then I look at that, 2 years down the line, if Isiah is gone, you have Markelle Fultz, you have Avery Bradley, you have Gordon Hayward, you have hopefully a power forward that can rebound, or you put Al there and then get a center that can hopefully rebound. And I think that right there could take on the LeBron James and Cleveland Cavaliers, because then again, Marcus Smart will still be on this team. Jaylen Brown will be coming off the bench. Terry Rozier will still be there as well. So you still have a deep bench, and you'll still be signing guys as well. Maybe ring chasers will be going there, people who just want to take down LeBron, Kingsley.
It's interesting that you have Jaylen Brown coming off the bench still at that point, because that would be his third year at that point.
Well, where are you going to start him if you sign Gordon Hayward?
I'm just saying, it's one of those situations where there's a lot of hype around Jaylen Brown, his development. So
I'm not saying
being a six man, not being able to lead his team.
I'm not saying that's anything against Jaylen Brown. I'm just saying
trying to start a little fun with the Celtics.
I'm just saying I'd rather take Gordon Hayward over Jaylen Brown, which I don't think anyone's going to argue against.
And the thing that I look at is one of the guys that I think of, and I'm looking at this back where I said where it's either Jimmy Butler or PG-13 are the guys you would trade for. I think of course, you were like, well, I wouldn't trade for Butler because you said he's not a, dominant player or prime player? Number one player.
He's not a number one.
It's okay.
He's a B.
But the thing that I like, if you're sitting there going, we need to take down LeBron, why not try to draft a guy who, one, is praised for his defensive ability, and number two, helped his team go? And I know LeBron, I think, didn't play all the games, but 4-0 against LeBron this year.
What would you rather have, a 6'5", 19-year-old guard or a 30-year-old guard who's 5'9", and while he is absolutely fantastic, you're going to have to pay a max contract where you can have that 19-year-old on a 5-year contract that's
6'5", 19-year-old guard was also Michael Carter-Williams, but I'm not going to go down that road.
But also, he's not Michael Carter-Williams, and Michael Carter-Williams wasn't the number. Michael Carter-Williams also wasn't the number one overall pick. He was just 6'5".
I know. Well, that's all you said about him.
Lonzo's 6'6". I see more Michael Carter-Williams than Lonzo than Markelle Fultz.
But no, I think Ricky's onto something, but not in the direct way of
Contracts
the number one.
controllable. You have him until 2020. That's Jimmy Butler, by the way.
But then Gordon Hayward is also controllable for longer.
Yeah, but
yes.
for
But Gordon Hayward is not as good defensively as Jimmy Butler is. Jimmy Butler is known to go one-on-one with LeBron. He has that history. He has that ability. He's shown it under crunch time. So I have more faith in Jimmy Butler, but I think that something that we haven't really talked about is trading the pick, but not for a superstar right now, is for a spot a little bit further back and gain additional value. As long as we're talking rebuild, you might as well go all in on this rebuild and go maybe Philadelphia. Maybe the Colangelos are still crazy and are going to say, have our Lakers pick next year and our number 3, and we'll swap you for the number 1, and they could go get themselves somebody else and have more picks next year.
The one thing, this isn't a rebuild for the Celtics. It's a retooling.
They're rebuilding
it's
while
a retooling.
It's
a retooling. They are retooling their roster, because a rebuild is rebuilding everything back up from the ground. They're not doing that.
Is there anyone on this team now who would be on the team when they hit their prime after this retooling?
Jaylen Brown, Jay Crowder, Avery Bradley, Al Horford will still be there. That's 4 of them right there. And the 2 other players you're adding is Markelle Fultz and Gordon Hayward.
I disagree with a couple of those, but okay.
Who do you disagree with?
I think that
I'm saying you're going to re-sign Avery Bradley. Jay Crowder's still locked up. You look at Jaylen Brown, he's going to be locked up, and he's going to be a restricted free agent, so he's going to stay around. Al Horford's locked up. He's going to stay there.
I think Bradley's probably not going to get re-signed. I think that somebody else is going to offer more money.
I think they'd be stupid not to re-sign him. And also, the Celtics are in the position to offer him the most money and most years. So I think it's something where the Celtics, if, again, I'm not looking at cap. We don't know what the cap will be when his contract comes up and IT's contract comes up. But it's something where Avery Bradley is younger. Avery Bradley is a defensive specialist. He is a guy that can shoot from 3, and he's not your star, but he is a really great player. And I think that you're drafting a guy in Markelle Fultz who is your star and will be there after those LeBron days. Where Isiah, we're talking about age here. We're talking about Al Horford being done at 32. Isiah's going to be 30. You're going to give him a 5-year contract. He's going to be 35. We don't know what his body's going to be like when he's 35 years old. He's not going to have the same speed he has right now. He's not going to be the same playmaker he is right now, because he's going to lose that speed. We saw it with AI, and he's not, frankly, he's not as good as AI. And it's something where, I think Isiah Thomas is a great player, and it's a great story what's happening with Isiah Thomas, but you can't mortgage, a ton of money on this one guy who might not be there in 5 years, where Markelle Fultz can be here for 15 years.
What they could also do, and this is me looking at the draft order, because I'm going to look at the Bulls, because they're the ones that I've been thinking about. You're telling me, would you want Markelle Fultz, who, yes, is a phenomenal talent and would be worthy of number 1?
The Bulls or Celtics?
A trade between them.
Okay.
If you're the Celtics, would you want, you know what, we're just going to take Markelle and we're happy with getting him out of this draft? Or would you say, you know what, if we can trade that, get Jimmy and the first round from the Bulls, because I don't think the Bulls could get away with having their first round pick if they're going for the number one.
I agree. I don't think Jimmy Butler for the number one straight up is
getting
fair.
a Jimmy Butler and then being able to get either a Justin Patton or a Jared Allen to come in and be one who can provide rebounds. Amir Johnson's
Justin Patton can't do that.
Well, he can get some rebounds down low.
Yeah,
Jared Allen could be one that you can get.
Him and Al
down
Horford
low.
can get pushed around together.
You can go with Ike from UCLA. He probably isn't the best rebounder out of the three, but you can go with a big man down low and who would be there for the 5 years, and then you don't have to pay Amir Johnson to come back. You can just let him walk.
I think you're going to let Amir Johnson walk anyways. I don't think you're going to bring him back because I think you're going to go after a guy like Gordon Hayward. I see, the thing is, when that gets so tricky with Jimmy Butler and bringing him in, because again, 2 years, and this is we got to wrap this up a little bit. But looking at this, the final thoughts I have on this is no, they should not trade this. Go after Markelle Fultz and go after Gordon Hayward in free agency, because I think
easy move.
I think that this and
Safe
I think
move too.
it's not the safe move. How is it the safe move?
Because there's no risk to it.
If they miss on Gordon Hayward, then they're in the same place they were this year.
That's the only risk.
This is not a risk, though, trading for Jimmy Butler and putting all of your stock into 2 years and not letting it play out.
No, that's what I'm saying. That
you're investing there.
It is a risky move, but I look at it and like my final thoughts on it are: you can go ahead and take Fultz, but it's like Dave said, you don't know if you're going to hit with Hayward, and if you are, then you have to pay him more money than you would have to pay Jimmy Butler, and you can get the Bulls pick and get a guy who can add you rebounding later in the draft.
Let's just put it this way: Markelle Fultz. What if he turns out to be the best player in the NBA when he hits his prime? Because he has the possibility to do that with his scoring ability.
I'll put my money on no.
No, but
I don't think he's doing any better than him.
I'm saying if he does hit that, if he does become the greatest, greatest player in the NBA at his prime, I would say we're looking back at this like the trade that Danny Ainge made for Paul Pierce, because you mortgaged your future for 2 years. You mortgaged your future for Cat to try to beat LeBron. Go after LeBron. Go wait for LeBron to be out of the league. I think that's what you have to do. I think that's what you
believe that
need to
could
go
happen?
after. What do you mean?
I'll ask you. I'll kind of flip it on you. Do you believe that he could be the best, one of the best players in his prime?
I think he could be a top 10 player in the NBA. Do I think he can be the number one? No. But I think that well, it depends, because then Steph will be most likely gone by his prime. James Harden will probably be.
Steph won't be gone.
Okay, but
Steph's
saying
an outside shooter. Okay. He's going to be there for years unless his ankles just turn to dust.
I think that Markelle Fultz can overtake him, at least. If we're saying peak position, peak player, prime player, I mean, right now, I would probably put James Harden or Russell Westbrook after the season they had over Steph Curry, and that's maybe because we saw Steph's usage decline a little bit. But looking at this, I think that Markelle Fultz could become the best player in the NBA. He has the potential.
See, I don't think
he has the potential to do it. I mean, it's all about potential here. And
I know that's what we're doing. That's all the draft is.
You're investing it. So,
and just the last thing I'll say, and then I'll shut up, is the only reason I don't think I say that is because same criticism I had with Ben Simmons. Couldn't bring his team. Couldn't even make the field to 64 in college.
That I find BS.
Couldn't even make the team a six. Like we're getting more than 64 to where I could throw a dart at the board and make the college tournament.
I think you. Wait. What did you say?
Find a team.
I could find a team that, especially when you're in the Power Five.
I thought you meant you said you could take your team. I was like, you're not taking the fight in the line to the tournament.
Especially if it's a Power 5 school, there's like no reason why, if you're the number one draft pick, you can't will your way into the tournament by yourself.
Yeah, if you're on a shitty team and you're the only player on that team and you get hurt because you're just putting all of your effort into that team.
Before with other top picks.
Who?
I'm just saying we've seen it before. I'm not going to look it up. I'm not going to waste your time.
Anthony Bennett wasn't a Power 5. He sucked. He was garbage. He made it to the tournament. Oh,
Anthony Bennett wasn't the consensus one, though.
He was number one, though.
He was picked number one.
He was number one.
It was not a consensus one.
Just saying.
He was mocked as 8 as close as a week before the draft.
Who went number one?
I'm not arguing with that.
Who went number one? You're not arguing a fact because it's a fact. Yeah. Anthony Bennett went number one. I'm just saying, how many number one picks have been successes in the NBA tournament? We've seen busts at that spot, and they've gone to the NCAA tournament. I'm sorry,
it's just coincidence that everyone in the All NBA teams 1 through 3 have,
unless they were foreign or came from
all been tournament teams.
But okay, so we're just saying they appeared there.
Yeah, the fact that he couldn't
they just
get his
made
team
the
to
tournament, not being further, just played a game in the tournament.
He had
that's the top 15 players in the NBA theoretically.
I'm just saying, Markelle Fultz had a shitty team. He had a shitty coach. And, hey,
Lonzo Ball took a team that didn't even make the tournament and brought them deep into the tournament.
That team had 15 wins. Lonzo Ball was also a fantastic facilitator and had TJ Leaf, who was a top prospect, coming in as well.
That team was he basically saved Alford's career.
They were 15-16. Alford's son was already a great shooter. TJ Leaf was a top prospect. Lonzo was a top prospect. You look at Ike, he was a top prospect as well. So they had top prospects on that team. Markelle Fultz, he was the only top prospect on that team. I think maybe Thibault was the only other one that maybe cracked the top 100. So there was 2 players on that, and Thibault maybe was like 70. So I think that Markelle Fultz should get off on that. And I think that we'll see down the line. I don't think the NCAA tournament holds as much weight and as much value as we think we do. Thank you. Oh, shit. It's just one of our videos scared me a little bit. Don't forget to check out that one. And also don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.